Hey, we got some Lions news here, and we're going to get into it. James Houston gets a tender, and Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, get an extension. Let's go. Happy Thursday, folks, as this free agency period keeps going on. The Detroit Lions made some moves today to our own guys, one being a player, James Houston, getting a tender. And so he'll play with the Detroit Lions this year, and if he doesn't sign it, then he has to sit out for the remainder of the year, in which James Houston will go ahead and sign that bad boy. It's less than $1 million, so Houston will be back. I know a lot of people wanted to know what's going to happen with James Houston. He's coming back. Hopefully he can play at a high level this up-and-coming season. We didn't get to really use him at all last year due to his injury. Hopefully he can be good to go for minicamp, and then we get in the training camp, and then we can utilize his skill set this year because we need help at pass rush. We do, and I think a lot of us thought James Houston would be a big deal this last year, and because we expected him to take that jump and he gets injured, and unfortunately, that's just not the case. So that's what's going on right here, and it's good. It's good for James Houston to come back. We couldn't get him some sort of mega deal or anything like that, considering the fact that he's a specialty player and he didn't really play at all last year. So tender works great. And if he wants to get paid next year, if he wants to get a big, gigantic deal from our team or another, you got to perform on the field, and he gets to do that. Look, if he kind of replicate what he did his rookie season, at least in sack total, bring up more snaps in a game instead of just being a specialty defensive player, then he could get a nice contract next year. So good for James Houston, good for the Detroit Lions. Yahoo right there. But the bigger news here is, how about this? How about the Detroit Lions give Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, a contract extension? And same with Spielman. He got a multi-year extension. Sheila Hamp says, we're thrilled to have Brad and Dan under contract for the next 4 seasons. I know Sheila Hamp wrote in a statement, they have been driving force behind the rebuild of our football team and the success that we've enjoyed. The continuity they provide for our football program will continue to be key to our future success on the field. I could not be more proud of the work that Brad, Dan, and Chris have done for the organization. CEO Rod Wood said in a press release, they have selflessly worked together, building a winning culture for the Lions, and I'm excited to continue working for them to create sustained success as we envision for our team, our fans, and our city of Detroit. If you don't remember, Brad Holmes got a 5-year deal when he signed with the Detroit Lions as general manager. Dan Campbell got a 6-year deal. And they're pretty much tied at the hip, right? Even though Brad didn't hire Dan Campbell. So now they're good to go for, looks, 4 seasons. And that's great news. Look, we got to have those guys back, all 3 of them. They got to be here for a long time. Long time. And the work that Brad Holmes has done for general manager of this football team is downright amazing. 3 years taking it from a horrible team to an NFC championship team with the ability to acquire talent in the draft like I've never seen. Last year, 4 players, 4 starters. Basically, in your eye, you could say 3 Pro Bowlers, right? Jahmyr Gibbs, Brian Branch, even I think he should have been, right? And then, of course, you get the great player that we absolutely all love here in Sam Laporta, just being an amazing player for the Lions on offense and being a backbone for Jared Goff, the ability to dump the ball off. So Brad Holmes knows how to evaluate talent. Brad Holmes is going to be here for the next 4 years. And he keeps it up. He's going to keep getting these long-term extensions year in or every other time it comes up. Just keep getting long-term extensions. And same with Dan Campbell. Took this team, bad team, took it to the NFC Championship game. You can hear players from other teams talk how physical the Lions are. We're not a bye week anymore. Dan Campbell took the talent that Brad Holmes got, developed it, and turned it into a winning culture. We may not agree with everything that Dan Campbell does with the fourth downs, the aggressiveness, but that's nitpicking. That's us complaining. We all know he's a really good coach. We love the guy. Happy these guys here for the next 4 years. In the comment section, grade the Detroit Lions re-signing and extending these 3 individuals, Spielman, Brad Holmes, and, of course, Dan Campbell. Sheila Ford deserves a lot of credit here. She hired Brad Holmes. She hired Spielman. And remember, she hired Dan Campbell as well. That was an amazing trio for her to hire to really take this team from a dumpster fire to a Super Bowl contender in the short period of time. Sheila Hamp deserves a lot of praise. You know, we, as Lions fans, sell the team years, sell it. It's never going to change. And long and behold, Sheila Hamp is the one to change this thing around and do a really good job. Remember, she was a Lions. She's a sports and a Lions fan. She talked about it. So, as she's a fan of the Detroit Lions, it's not just being a business owner, which she is. She's a fan of the team. When you're the fan of the team, too, you want to really see it be good, right? You want it to be good. You're a fan of it. So it is good that she is a fan as well as, running the organization. And I think with her skill set as well and what she does with Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, Spielman, and the rest, she lets them do their job. She doesn't micromanage. And that is fantastic. That is how you operate in leadership. If you micromanage, it generally is a failure. It generally is. A lot of people in leadership positions, doesn't have to be football, will tell you that as well. In the Army, if you micromanage, fail. You let your leaders do their thing, and the leaders will allow their soldiers to do their thing. Don't micromanage. It's an effective team environment. And that's what Sheila does. And that's what Dan Campbell does. That's what Brad Holmes do. Brad Holmes trusts his scouts, their ability to look at talent. Dan Campbell trusts his coaches to coach. That's a good thing. It's a great thing for this organization. We have a well-run organization. So congratulations to Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. What's crazy about this, too, I think we all can admit, about these two, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, how well they get along. They're like so near almost brother status, right? They get along fantastic. And Brad Holmes didn't hire Dan Campbell. Not at all. But they just work so great as a team. And then you see like Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia, who were close in New England. They just couldn't even figure out who to take with the first pick. I mean, it was just a dumpster fire. Those guys were supposed to be friends, and they didn't know what to do. Then you get Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes. They know exactly what to do. They know how to run. They know how to organize. They know how to lead by example. So shout out to there. Now, I'm sure Mike Valenti's going to come out and say, it's an arrogant move by Sheila. I don't care. I don't know about you guys, but the negativity gets old, especially when the Lions are doing good. Like, knock it off, man. Stop with the negativity. Good God. And look, sometimes negativity sells, right? Like, you can get a lot of clicks and a lot of hits because you're going against the grain. You're going opposite of what everybody's thinking. And so it's a great way to get views. It's a great way to bring out those same old Lions fans. But I just can't do it, man. It just gets old. It gets real old. You got to give credit where credit's due. I'm very proud of how this team finished. Yeah, I wanted the Super Bowl. You won the Super Bowl. We all wanted it. But they did good. They did. It was a great season. It was an amazing season. And I suspect it's going to be like this for a long time, folks. This team's a good, well-run organization. It's really from top to bottom. Well-run. And it's going to be like this for a long time due to these extensions, due to the great leadership of Sheila Hamp. And I can guarantee you, when Ben Johnson got his extension or a pay raise, Sheila Hamp had no problem doing that. And that's what you need, right, to keep your quality players and coaches and all that. It's so good to see. It's so good to see. And, you know, Rod Wood, I guess, I don't really have anything to say. He's more of a financial guy, finances. But those three right there is the leadership of this football team. It really is. And it's really, really good to see that we have a well-run organization. So congratulations to head coach Dan Campbell. Well-deserved. We really love you here in Detroit. You're going to have statues made of you. Brad Holmes, super congratulations to you. Love you, man. You know how to evaluate talent. Spielman, you've already been loved here in Detroit, brother. Hell of a player and great man. Just a great man overall. And obviously he knows what he's doing in a position that he's in right now. So shout out to those guys. Show some love to those two, those three, those four in the comments below. With that said, folks, adios.